Welcome back, fellow nerds, and today we are reviewing Iron Man!
Woo!
As we've said at the intro of this video, this doesn't replicate watching the movie, so go watch it.
Yeah.
And then come back and check this out.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the scaling, check the scaling video. Editor, card here, please.
Stupid, I'm not gonna let you get the chance.
Thanks.
Awesome!
Thanks, Christian.
We have someone that can do that.
Woo! Actually, I'm good enough to do that.
Oh, nice.
It's you click a button. That's it. Anyway, so we're going to talk about the synopsis. This is a quick summary of the movie. The movie opens with a van being blown up after a peace sign being called a gang sign. Yeah, it's true. That happens.
That happened.
Our filmographer is actually behind the camera listening to these, and he hasn't seen all these movies, so he's hearing the synopsis and it's just, what? It sounds wild, but it's true. So then it goes to Tony Stark receiving an award. Man of the Year, or I don't know, Philanthropist of the Year, I don't know. I wasn't listening. But then he doesn't show up for his own award. Why? Is he out doing good deeds? Is he out being a hero? No, he's being a jerk off and he's rolling dice.
He's playing craps.
Yeah, that's it. Then Rhodey gives him the award. And he's like, I'm so honored. He missed
Yells
it.
at him a little bit.
Yeah, so then he's got to fly somewhere the next day. We're showing that Tony is a very intelligent man.
Yeah.
Then he goes and he drives really fast. He brings some girl home. And then he just dips out and drives really fast. And
Has Pepper get rid of her.
Yeah. Pepper makes my favorite. It's my favorite line in the entire movie.
Yeah.
Sometimes I take out the trash.
Yeah.
Oof, brutal. It's really good. We get introduced to Jarvis. He matters.
He does.
And Pepper matters and Tony matters. That's pretty much it. We get Coulson too. Yeah, we're going all over the place. But we go through the movie. He gets to Afghanistan, I believe.
Somewhere like that.
He's in the Middle East, but I think it's Afghanistan, but I might be wrong. And he's showing off the Jericho missile.
For your consideration, the Jericho.
And it's really pretty.
He blows up mountaintops.
He does. He blows up a mountain. Then he goes and he gets a drink. He gets in a Humvee and he goes on a little journey. And we get to see him blow up again. It was fun.
And see his own missile that blew him up.
Yeah. So then he wakes up and he comes in and out of consciousness, but the people are operating on him. He's got a bunch of shrapnel in his body. It's great. So they hook him up to a car battery. So now he's got to build them a Jericho missile with the parts that are there. So instead he says, nah, brah, I'm out.
And then he threatened to kill the guy that helped him.
Yeah, so he's like, okay, so now, nah, brah, I'm out, and I'm gonna take him with me. Which is legit what happens. So first he builds an arc reactor to, make his heart not
Need a car battery.
Yeah, so he's a little lighter on his feet. And then he creates the Jericho missile, aka Chrome Suit Iron Man, prototype.
Iron Man Part 1.
Yeah, Mach 0.1. It's got flamethrowers and stuff, and so they break out.
Flamethrowers? Does that have anything beyond flamethrowers?
Yeah, it's got some missiles, little missiles and stuff. It's pretty neat. So while it's booting up, Jensen, which is the other guy, I remembered his name.
Yeah.
Jensen, he starts booking it because he's shooting this machine gun in the air like a lunatic.
Instead of shooting the people, he's shooting the gun in the air.
In a cave, that's safe. Whatever. He didn't have high aspirations for the rest of his life.
No, he did not.
Because he dies.
Because this is the rest of his life.
Yeah, this is the end. Flashback. In the arms of the angel.
Yeah, basically, Tony's just, why'd you do that? You were going to go see your family. I am going to see my family.
They did. I'm out. So then Tony goes outside, he burns the place to the ground.
Attempts to fly.
And then he realizes that I am not a rocket man, and he blows up in midair and lands in the sand. He's lucky he was in a desert that's not a beach.
Yeah.
Because if you've ever been to a beach, you know.
Yeah.
And if you haven't, go to the beach and you'll know. Americans in their glass. So then they find him, and Rhodey, instead of being like, oh my god, are you okay? He goes, next time you're riding with me. Thanks? That was a weird line, and that bothered me.
It was because earlier Tony said, no, I'm not getting in yours in this one because this is the fun
That's
one.
right. Right, yeah, bad timing. It would have been a funny joke, but I think you should have waited. Like, I think that joke would have been really funny right before the press conference, which happens next.
Yeah.
So
Obadiah Stane.
Yeah.
That's the first time we get to meet him.
Obadiah. Oh my darling. So Obadiah is being Obadiah, and he's like, what are you about to do? And Tony's like, so...
Then
He's eating a cheeseburger, sitting on the floor. Can everybody, like, you know, let's be a little informal. No more weapons. Like, we're a weapons manufacturer. No more? No more.
Everyone just thought.
Yeah, the place went wild, and then he gets yeeted out. Place goes crazy. Things happen. He builds another Iron Man suit. He realizes how bad things actually are.
He keeps trying to build Iron Mans for a while.
Yeah, he's just constantly trying to do stuff. He's tinkering. He's trying to be responsible. Obadiah locks him out of his own company. It's got his name on it. That's impressive. Business world, people. Business world. The movie gets like all kinds of sideways for a little bit. Obadiah tries to create his own arc reactor. Yells at a scientist.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm not Tony Stark.
You can't argue with that.
Okay, you got it, pal. And then the movie continues going. Tony creates a more healthy arc reactor. Pepper has to like remove it. She's grossed out. He goes into mild cardiac arrest. Not a big deal.
We are forgetting, throughout all of this, Coulson keeps coming up saying, hey, I want to talk to Tony about this.
He doesn't matter. Nothing happens with them anyway. The Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement Logistics Division doesn't mean anything. That's what it stands
called.
for.
That's what it's called.
That's what it's called, yeah. So, all that's going on. Continuity error with Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
They called it S.H.I.E.L.D. in there. Fun facts. Useless information for your everyday life. Yeah, so that all happens, and then Obadiah shows off that he's the big bad, killing the person that was the terrorist, whatever his name is, I don't remember. They just kills him for no reason. Just like cleaned it up. And it's just a firing squad, they kill a bunch of people.
It shows off right before he uses it on Tony, a thing that makes people
paralyzed. Nervous system paralysis.
Yeah.
Then he takes the arc reactor literally out of Tony's chest. Like, not even a joke, just mine.
Then Tony goes downstairs,
gets the bad one, powers the Iron Man suit. Don't know how it didn't kill him.
Because it was about to.
Yeah, it was bad anyway. Like, I don't know how it worked, but is what it is. And then they get in the fight, and he didn't prepare for icing, which is something we're shown earlier in the movie.
Significantly earlier. So it was at least good foreshadowing.
Yeah, there's a lot of foreshadowing in it. It was very good. And then the arc reactor that was at Stark Industries
blows everyone
goes
up.
kaboom. There's a press conference. And they're like, you know, just read off the cards. And Tony's like,
Truth is, I am Iron Man.
and like the place goes wild. And then the movie ends. And then we're introduced in the post credits to Nicholas J. Fury.
Yep.
That's it. That's the movie.
All right.
Let's talk about it.
All right. Time for the story. So, individual story, I ranked it as a 9 out of 10.
I ranked it as an 8 out of 10. I thought it was really good.
For exactly what it was, the first superhero movie since Spider-Man.
Batman trilogy. Might have come out after it.
Something like that. For the first
it introduced
Marvel one.
Yeah, it's the first
introducing the
Marvel
MCU, or attempting to do that at the very least.
It was the goal, and it was impressive.
It succeeded.
Yeah.
Like, this
I
was a
tried to
commercial
succeed.
success by a lot, and it shows why. Like, the movie was very good. Did it have some awkward points? Absolutely. Were those awkward points overshadowed by literally the rest of the movie? Yes.
The cast was stellar. Yeah. They literally, like...
They couldn't have picked a better person for Tony Stark.
They couldn't have picked a better person for Pepper Potts, or for the voice of Jarvis, or for Nick Fury, or for Coulson. Literally, the only actor that got changed from this cast was the guy that played Rhodey, because we get Don Cheadle. Yeah. And I love Don Cheadle. He is so good as Rhodey. Everything about his Rhodey I prefer. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with the first Iron Man Rhodey. That actor is an amazing actor and he's very talented. I just think that Rhodey needed to be someone with better facial comedy.
Yeah.
And Don Cheadle is amazing at that.
He is. And this is just a spoiler for Iron Man 2 a little bit. When he gets introduced, that was an amazing point in that movie. Mm-hmm. As when Don Cheadle gets introduced as Rhodey, that was just awesome.
It was, yeah. And it's handled very well.
All right.
So for me, it's an 8 out of 10. I rank it a little lower because I don't bait into nostalgia. And as good as the movie is, there is still some things that could be improved.
There's points.
In terms of
It's
the
just,
story.
for me, all of the main characters and a lot of the side characters are very good, and I like them a lot. So
Yeah.
the only thing I would really say is the villains aren't the best. That would be the only thing.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, how it affects the MCU? I said a 4 out of 10. It sets up Iron Man and Pepper
And it says
and
a
Rhodey,
scientist.
Jarvis, and a scientist.
It's a
And
character
the
introduction.
Avengers. Yeah, it's literally the introduction of Iron Man and the introduction to the MCU. It's hard to make that very high.
Yeah, because it has to be an introduction film. So how it affects everything, I put it as a 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
For everything you just said, I felt like, could there have been more? Sure, but because it's the introduction to a universe and not just an individual character, it had to suffer a little bit, and it suffered a little bit.
Yeah. So now we're gonna move on to the main characters.
Now it's on
Alright.
to some main characters. So we're gonna start with Tony Stark.
RDJ.
RDJ. Rip. I gave it a 9 out of 10. There's literally no one else that can play Tony Stark.
No.
In every movie, even in the ones that we don't like as much, he is phenomenal. He doesn't have to steal the scene, and he still does.
Yeah.
Because he's got that charisma and that just presence about him, and I love everything about Tony in this movie. There's a couple of little things I would improve, but there's so few and far between that I can't even name them off the top of my head, so I had to go with a 9 out of 10 on it.
I gave it a 10 out of 10. I think he played him exactly as he should be. Stupid jerk, and then trying to turn his life around to being able to be Iron Man. I can't imagine him doing anything different to make it better. That's why I can't really rank it below a 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Next up is Pepper Potts. I gave her a 6 out of 10. From what I've seen of the MCU, and a lot of this is just because I can't turn off what I already know. I know she can be better than what she is in this movie, and I think that hurt her score for me personally. I could make the argument for a 7 out of 10 on her very easily in this movie, but for me it had to be a 6 out of 10 because the moments where she was in the movie, she was phenomenal and scene stealing, and the chemistry she has with RDJ as Tony Stark is incredible and scene stealing, but I feel like I know where the character goes and I know how much better the character gets and how much better than Gwyneth Paltrow, right? Yeah. She gets as an actress with the character. I know where it ends up, and this just feels like the weakest performance because it's the first one. And I think that my knowledge of the rest of the series affected the score here, but I did try to be unbiased, but I had to go with a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I understand his point of view. For me, I marked it as an 8 out of 10. I think she did excellent for being the first version of Pepper because she doesn't need to show that character growth that she shows for the rest of the movies. So because of exactly who she is I don't know what the hell's going on. You're almost dying every day from what I can tell. What the hell? She does it excellently as the worried secretary who's going to be his wife in the future.
Yep.
So this shows her having connections with him, not just as you're my boss, but also I really like you and I want you not to die.
I care about you as more than just a person that pays me.
Exactly. And also in the, look, when I think you've gone too far, I'm just going to bluntly tell you, you've gone too far.
That is something I do like about her that was consistent throughout.
Yeah,
Is
so
that she's always been blunt with Tony.
She is exactly who she needs to be for this introduction movie, and I can't really fault her for it being the first one if I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible, but at the same time, that's why it's not a 10 out of 10. I know where she goes, she is better, but because it's the first movie, she does still get a very high ranking from me.
Yeah. And the last one is Rhodey. So I said in the story that Don Cheadle is, I feel, a better fit for the character. That being said, this actor is so talented, he's still got a 7 out of 10 for me. He is a very talented actor. I just feel that the comedic timing that he brought and the facial expressions that he brought aren't as good as Cheadle's.
Yeah.
And he's still so good. He's still so far above average. He's nearly an 8 out of, like, it's 7 or even an 8 out of 10. He's that good. The actor is amazing.
Yeah, for me it's an 8 out of 10. I really liked him. The biggest problem I had with him was Rhodey is War Machine, and we never saw War Machine.
We got a teaser for it.
We did get a teaser for it, but we never got to see him as War Machine, so I don't know how he'd act in the suit.
That's true.
I feel like, because in the suit, it's entirely face acting and talking, and that would be his hardest blemish.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he did excellent. I really liked him as Rhodey. I didn't feel that much comedic timing off it, just his face always felt flat.
And his body language was always on point. It literally was just a face. That's really all that got me.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that would ever break it, is if I was looking directly at his face, but the rest of his body language was just in character. And most of the time his face was just with that comedy stuff.
Yeah.
That
he was just flat a lot.
Yeah,
like
it just felt very flat.
His face was always like just blank, in which it makes sense for a military man, but at the same time, if you're friends with Tony Stark,
you have to have
you're going to have like these fun facial expressions.
Yeah. And that's going to do it for the 3 main characters that we felt were the main characters of this film. So let's jump into the villains.
Alright, time for some villainy. So first up, we got Obadiah.
I put Jeb because I couldn't remember his first name.
Obadiah Stane. I ranked him as a 6 out of 10. I think he was fine. He's definitely a lot better than some other villains that we're going to talk about later. But being the first movie, it felt like he was forced to be the villain more than anything. Like, if they had made him, if this was the second movie and he was introduced in the first one, and then in the second movie he became the villain, I think I'd like it a lot more.
Oh, I agree with that.
But it's just, he's in this first movie, we get introduced to him, you can tell he's not good, and then, oh look, he's the bad guy.
Shock horror.
But
he was the villain I think that Tony needed.
Yeah.
He needed to shed the, that was basically the embodiment of the errors of his past.
Yeah.
Like, that's what Obadiah stood for. I ranked him as a 7 out of 10 because he was exactly the foil that Tony needed to overcome in this movie as a symbolic victory for the character. Because Tony never really he deals with some terrorists, but he never actually deals with the head of it.
No.
Obadiah does, which is why I think the villain worked a little bit better than you did, but like overall, is he the greatest villain of all time? No. Would I put him in my top 10 villains? No. He's a middle of the pack villain, but the actor did an amazing job. The foreshadowing, the facial expressions, the body language, everything about Obadiah was done almost perfectly. It was, what hindered the character was the story he was in had to be told that way.
Yeah.
There was no other way the character could work.
It was the first movie, and he felt like a character that you needed to understand before you could feel him as a villain.
Right.
But we just don't get that time to understand him, that's why he's not ranked very highly for me. Versus, overall, we just put terrorists, because they are...
It's a group villainy thing.
Yeah.
Like, there's a hierarchy to it, but for the most part, it's pretty much just, these are the terrorists.
Yeah, so I ranked them as a 7 out of 10. For exactly what they needed to be, I thought they were very good. The only thing I could say was, like, I feel like they should have been more, like, rougher, but I guess, like, it's the first movie, they don't want to show, like, him.
They weren't even owned by Disney yet.
Yeah. So
unacceptable.
So they acted exactly as you would expect terrorists to, but I mean, they're not gonna get the 10 out of 10. They're not gonna get even above a 7. I would argue that I could put it as a 6, but I put it as a 7 at the time, so I'm gonna keep it as a 7.
I ranked them as a 4 out of 10. And the reason being is that I can't name one of them. No. I can't give a single name for any of them. Not a single one of them stood out. As a group, they didn't stand out. They were just a plot device. And while it's a very effective and intelligent plot device, and it's a very powerful way to get the point across to a character as big-headed as Tony, it could have been better. It could have shown a little bit more darkness. It could have really kind of pushed into realism a little bit and blurred that line between fiction and reality a little bit more. They felt almost like Hogan's Hero. Like, if you've ever watched the old show Hogan's Heroes, they're kind of like the Nazis from that show, where they're basically just a joke. And that's not realistic or believable, and it can be kind of immersion breaking for people. And I didn't enjoy them overall.
I will say one thing I think that would have made them a lot better would have been if they had shown like the Mandarin rings or something. Like
anything.
Introducing them at like, not even like saying that they're part of the Mandarin's crew, but like they just have the Mandarin rings on a wall that Tony's working in or something like that where, hey, look, you can at least point that out for a future movie. But again, they didn't know the MCU was going to be a thing. For exactly what they thought, I thought they did really well, but they are just a plot device. I can't argue that. They are. But with that, let's move on to the side characters.
Welcome to the French fries
Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. I have no freaking idea what I'm doing.
section, or the sides, if you will. So we're gonna start with Jensen. I got our I got our cameraman. I popped Chris. So Jensen, we're gonna start with Jensen. He's an 8 out of 10. That character is amazing.
Yeah.
He's so good. He is a mentor character. It is foreshadowed. It is implied. It is felt that he is going to die. We hope he doesn't, and he still does it anyway every time.
Yeah.
It's like the movie never changes, and that's lame. But Jensen is such a good character. He's exactly what he needs to be. And he is a plot device, but he's a plot device that has heart.
You can remember him.
Yeah, like the doctor from Captain America, I remember him. I can't remember his name right now, or I can't pronounce it, whichever.
Yeah.
But whichever it is in the moment, it's one of them. He is the character like that, and he's so good. Jensen is an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
He has to be, to me.
I agree. I think he's an 8 out of 10. The only thing I could have said, I wish he did survive for at least like them going back to California.
Get out of the cave.
Yeah. Get him out of the cave. Bring him like to California, and like Tony has to show him and help, and he lets him help him build Iron Man. But then when, like, even if it was, this would be an interesting thing. Then he makes a second suit for him, and that crashes, and that forces Tony to make the suit safer.
Yeah.
And that's how like Tony gets it across, and he always feels that blame, and that's why that would explain why like in movie 1 and 2 he almost doesn't let Rhodey have a suit.
Yeah.
He's just like, look, I don't want you happening like it happened to him.
Yeah, that would have made a lot.
I think
more
that would have
sense.
made. I think that would have made it cool. But
Yeah.
that's why I think an 8 out of 10. If he was in more of the movie, I think he would have gotten a higher score.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they could keep the character as true to the characters he is.
Yeah.
Next up is Jarvis. Okay, he's a home AI, but every time he's in the scene, that voice,
You recognize that voice, and that voice makes a difference because you know where it's going.
it's Paul Bettany,
Yeah.
right? And his voice is Jarvis, and God, it's so good. It's so good. It's where the acronyms come from. Like it starts. It's Tony's fault. That's why Shield is Shield and Jarvis is Jarvis Friday.
Yeah.
All of them. What is it?
Just a rather very intelligent system.
Yeah, it's wild. And Jarvis is great, but for this movie, he's a 7 out of 10. There's a couple of. He's just not in it enough.
He's a home AI, and
he's still a
for
home
the
AI.
Iron Man
Yeah,
suit.
so there's only so much he can actually be.
Yeah. If he was his own character in this moment, he would definitely be higher. He's an AI that helps him run the Iron Man suit right now. If you know what he becomes, that's when he really reaches his peak. But right now, it's just
7 out of 10 is probably the highest that Jarvis can get in a movie.
Yeah.
And last is going to be Coulson. I love Phil,
Yeah.
but in this movie, he's like an errand boy.
He is. No, he actively is the errand boy. He is
So-
right. But in fairness, he's the errand boy for Fury about, hey, we're doing the Avengers. I need you to pay attention to me.
Yeah. I put him as a 5 out of 10.
I gave him a 6. Like I said, yes, he's an errand boy. He's there to be there, but he has to do that so that way they can set up the MCU overall. Like, if he wasn't in that movie, how it affects the MCU would go down to maybe a 2 for both of us.
Yeah.
But because he's there, it ups that, and him talking about the Avengers program throughout that entire thing ups that.
Yeah. He carries that portion of the movie. It's just unfortunate that
It doesn't.
we didn't get to feel more of Coulson's backstory.
No.
We were just like, hey, I need to talk to you. I need to debrief you. Hey, are you here to debrief me? Cool.
All right, we're going. Yeah.
Like, that's all it was.
Now, in fairness, also, in case you were wondering, he did make it so that way he could fight Stain. He's the one that blew open that door.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at least there's that.
He's not useless as a character.
He's not useless, it's just he could have been a lot more useful.
Yeah. And that's going to do it for our side characters. We're going to jump into cinematography and choreography now.
Alright. So, camera work, on how the cinematography worked. I think the camera work was very good. I give it an 8 out of 10. Everyone felt like where they needed to be. It just had a few moments of like someone randomly appearing where it's just like, I don't know that they wouldn't have noticed you. That type of thing. A great example is near the ending when Obadiah hits Tony. Tony's in an open room with nothing around him. Why wouldn't he notice Obadiah come up to him?
Yeah, it just kind of felt like a forced moment, or a forced interaction. I gave it a 7 out of 10. It was just, and maybe some of it's set design. Okay, so they haven't streamlined how it is inside the suit for Tony yet when like flying and stuff. And every time that we have like a video like from his point of view while flying, it's always kind of shaky, and I just didn't enjoy those scenes. It kind of like, why is it shaky?
Makes sense.
Are we having an earthquake? Like, those are the things that I worried about. So I only put it as a 7 out of 10. Is it bad? No, it's great. They did a phenomenal job with this movie in almost every facet. Literally, my only issue with it is like minor stuff. It just kind of ruined certain parts.
It made sense why it was shaky. It's his first suit that's after that can actually contain flight, but it's just
they
don't have to show that. They could have just like shown the outside of him shaking, but then inside it's just straight.
Yeah,
that type of thing. But no, I agree. There's just certain things. Something we forgot about in the story that was one of my favorite moments was Tony calling Rhodey when he was fighting the planes. That was funny.
On your belly. It looks like a man. Shake him off.
I just remembered that. That's why I brought it up, because I thought that scene was excellent. And it's probably why for the next part choreography got a 6 out of 10. There's just certain scenes with Tony flying and stuff that were excellent, but there's just most of the scenes are, I'm going to shoot you now.
And they had to simplify a lot of the choreography for a couple of reasons. One, the actor that plays Obadiah is an older guy, so there's only so much that he can physically do. The other issue is that it's metal suits. It's the first iterations. The costumes and the CGI that would go into these movies later isn't available as
this is also early 2000. This is late 2000s.
Yeah, it was like 2006, I think.
8.
Was it 8?
2008.
Yeah. So there's only so much that they can do with that time and space-wise, so it was unfortunate that it had to happen the way it did. But the choreography did suffer, and I agree with you, it's a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I love choreography. I like fight scenes. They didn't really have a lot of hand-to-hand. It was a lot of, I'm going to shoot things now, and while that can be good choreography, only having I'm going to shoot things now, it's never going to be as fun as hand-to-hand.
Right.
All right, now we're going to move on to the overall enjoyment of the movie.
Overall enjoyment, wrapping it up. This movie is super fun from top to bottom. It is a great introduction. It is one of the, if not the best, introduction to a character movie in the entire MCU, which is impressive because we have a lot. There's the Guardians of the Galaxy, there's Homecoming, there is
Doctor Strange,
Ant-Man, all of these great movies that are later on in the series that they have more to work with and more
money.
Yeah, a lot more money. And this movie still stands as one of the best. It still stands as a standard bearer,
and I think
because it's that good.
I think that is an entire attribution to the story of the movie and Tony,
the characters, the characters in general.
I think the characters overall, but I mean, like, if it was anyone but RDJ, I don't think the movie would hold up anywhere near as well as it would today.
And see, nobody believed that in the moment when it was being filmed.
When it was being filmed, they thought RDJ was a horrible version.
A washout, yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone else could have played him to that perfection.
No, it is a very well cast role.
I think RDJ is the perfect Tony Stark, and that Marvel's version of him is the perfect live action version of him.
Yeah,
like,
it's a character you can believe.
Yeah, if they ever try to change, if they were trying to make a new Iron Man that isn't Spider-Man, it will fail. I don't ever see them coming up with another way to do it.
But for me, it's an overall enjoyment was about a 7 out of 10. It's not the best of the Phase 1 movies in my opinion. It's not Avengers, but it's really, really good. It's easily the second best, I think, movie overall of Phase 1.
I marked it as an 8 out of 10. In my opinion, I like it a little, just slightly more than Captain America for the entire reason of I'm not huge into war movies. And
that's fair.
I can't, like, it's not the fault of any specific actor or anything in Captain America. It's just war movies I don't really like that much. This, I loved it. It's the first one. The fact that it came out 3 years before Captain America, but it still holds up this well.
It holds up real well.
So, with that, that's going to be our review of this movie.
Yeah, so let us know what you guys think in the comment section below, as always. Make sure to give us your rankings for all of our categories if you need the list. Again, right there.
Yes.
Thank you, editor. And I love having you.
I know you do. And make sure, like, watch these playlists in the correct order, like how we're reviewing it. And once again, if you didn't listen to the beginning of this does not replace watching the movie. Watch the movie and come up with your own interpretation of it. Our version isn't anything beyond our subjective views.
Yep, this is 100% our opinions, and we are okay with you disagreeing. Just be polite in the comment section.
Yeah.
And with that, we're gonna wrap it up and call it a day. But you make sure to check in later. And until then, we are checking out.